Welcome to Nasdaq Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, global markets reporter at Nasdaq. Joining me is John Phillips, co-founder of PredictIt, the stock market for politics. We're going to take a look at how the 2024 presidential nomination field is looking. And John, it's great to see you as always. I feel like we're still trying to recover from the last election we were, just in a few short months ago, and it looks like they're campaigning already.
Well, it's hard to believe. Okay, so that's a really good point because campaign veterans who normally, we've talked about this, Jill, who normally take a break, go to the Bahamas after the November elections, there was no break this year because of all the events between the election and the nomination. And it's hard to believe that Biden has been president for, I will say, only 1 month, only 30 days. So it's a fascinating dynamic that's been set up. But yes, we are back in it again. And the starting gun has already gone off.
So I would imagine when Trump speaks at CPAC, in a few short days, he'll probably use that as a platform to kick this off, because as your graphic indicates, he's at the top of the field. Yes,
so much to say, so little time in which to say it at CPAC. It's also interesting that, there's a whole bunch of things happening next week around the CPAC conference with respect to the Republican POTUS race for 2024. So first of all, traders, by a significant margin, think that Trump is at 23% is going to be the nominee. That's up 2 cents. And what's interesting is they also think, obviously the odds that they think he's going to run, it's at an all-time high at 41%, which is up 7 points from the start. So, that's where the sure thing money is going. But there's a crowded field of those who are trying to run without running against Trump, and because they want to be in position should Trump decide not to run. Next week's speech is going to be really interesting because Trump will be, the former president will be trying to accomplish a couple of things. He's going to try to establish his control of the Republican Party, and it's going to be interesting to see how others react to that. There's a payback element to this, and we'll see what happens with respect to those who oppose Trump, either in the impeachment or in the run-up to the election.
Yeah, that's a great point that you make, and I find it interesting that coming in number 3 is Florida Governor DeSantis, because DeSantis and Trump are, well-known allies of each other. So it'll be interesting to see how they would debate how they're going to campaign against one another. That was one of the closest allyships throughout his presidency. So that I thought that was the most glaring thing that's stuck out at me.
Well, that's right. And the question is, are they going to compete? Because of course, the big question is, will Trump run, or is this sort of a head fake? He has $70 million in the bank right now in his PAC, and he has that available to spend. But of course, that's a fraction of what he can raise and will raise as it becomes more and more clear that he is going to run or not. DeSantis, on the other hand, and all of the Republicans in the field are in a difficult situation. They don't want to be opposing Trump, but they want to be positioned in the event that Trump doesn't run or for some reason shows weakness, at which point there's blood in the water. Also, Nikki Haley's in an interesting position. She published an op-ed piece in which she, said that it's the media that's actually causing this divisiveness in the Republican Party, not an ideological battle. I think it's an ideological battle, but we'll have to see. And then Mike Pence, who's not speaking at CPAC. That's interesting to note. You've got others, though. I note that Ted Cruz is at 7% odds that he's going to get the nomination. Now, that may not sound a lot, but that's 2 points higher than Tom Cotton, Marco Rubio, and he's one of the sort of third-tier candidates. But there will be a bunch of 5 and 7 and 8 percenters for quite a while.
Yeah, I just find it interesting just knowing what we know about Donald Trump. I can't imagine him going and speaking, saying, you know what, I'm taking myself, my full weight, my supporters are putting behind DeSantis or whom he chooses to do so. I just, knowing his personality that he has so publicly put on display for his entire public life, I can't see him stepping out of the spotlight and giving that to someone else. So I find that really interesting that there's that thought out there that, he might do that.
Right, right. So, and part of it is that support, is the support of Trump supporters within the Republican Party, is that transferable?
Mhm.
Is that transferable? For instance, former presidents are, they endorse candidates all the time, and it certainly doesn't hurt in the primary, whether it's Democratic or Republican primary. But it'll be fascinating. And then when that's going to happen, I expect this drama is going to play out all the way for the next 4 years. This isn't over. This is just beginning.
It's going to be interesting. All right, John, great to see you as always. Thanks for joining us on Trade Talks, and thanks for joining me. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.
Thanks, Jill.